Ladies and gentlemen, this evening, playing Amazing Grace on the bagpipes, Mr. Peter Gordon. Thank you, Peter. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. This evening, to our national anthem, Mr. Steve Breeze.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Steve. Please stay standing. I'd like to welcome to the stage a junior at Wareham High School, Alina Nicoletti, with Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Good evening, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bob Hurley, a life member, 3-time past exalted ruler of the Wareham Bedford Lodge of Elks, number 73. As a former military police officer during the Vietnam era, it is indeed an honor to stand before you tonight to reflect on the 83,000 men and women that remain visible today. As we gather here this evening for this most important ceremony, may we never forget those who made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. The black and white flag that flies across our country daily is a reminder that we will never leave our fallen behind and to do everything in our power to bring them home. For those who strive tirelessly each and every day to accomplish this mission, we salute you. We say thank you. Admiral Winnefeld once said, and I quote, "We will not call our mission complete till all of our fallen are finally gone." I'd like to call upon Reverend Dan Bernier, Church of the Good Shepherd, invocation.
gracious, sovereign God, Lord of all nations. This evening we pause to reflect upon our blessings as a nation and the high cost of those blessings for many, especially those who served in the Vietnam War. Thank you for the freedom we enjoy in this country, for opportunities to flourish, for the security of our land. Thank you for those who have served in the armed services of our country, risking their lives for our liberty. Thank you for those who have given their lives in service to our country, those who are missing in action, those who have been prisoners of war, sacrificing in such a costly way for the sake of others. We commend the fallen to your mercy and ask that you give them eternal rest. Thank you for this time set apart for remembrance as we consider the sacrifices of so many in our military. O Lord, may we be more aware of just how blessed we are as a nation. May we be more grateful for our blessings, more faithful in stewarding them well, more eager to share them with others. We pray today for the families and friends of all those who have given their lives in service to our nation. May they be comforted in their sadness. May they be reassured that the sacrifice of their loved ones contributes to a worthy cause. May they be proud of those they have lost, entrusting their lives into your gracious hands. Even as we remember those who have given their lives in the past, we also think of those whose lives are on the line today. We think especially for the men and women who are serving in Iraq and Afghanistan and in other places of conflict and violence. Protect them. Encourage them. Bring them home safely and soon. All this we ask and pray in your holy name. Amen.
Born and raised in Wareham, this gentleman is a graduate of Marietta College in Ohio. In 1966, he joined the United States Navy to serve his country in the medical corps, rather known as a medic. He then moved to the United States Marine Corps and trained as an FMC medic at Camp Lejeune. After only 3 months, he received his orders to serve in Vietnam. He arrived in Vietnam in July of 1968. He was attached to the 1st Battalion, 5th Marine Division. On October 30th, 1968, he was wounded in action and spent several months in the hospital. He was released from the hospital the day before his 2 years of active duty ended. For the past 45 years, he has followed in the footsteps of his grandfather, Edwin L. Morse, and his father, Ken Bruce. And for 45 years, he has been the president and CEO of E.L. Morse Lumber Company. Jim is married to his wonderful wife, Mary Aggie Bruce. Between them, they have 4 children and 5 grandchildren. Please welcome home Mr. Jim Bruce, podium.
Thank you. Well, it's wonderful to be here. He just reduced my 5-minute remarks to 2.5. On a serious note. Hello to all of you. I am Jim Bruce, born and brought up here in Wareham, and for the last 45 years in the lumber business right here, following my father's and grandfather's footsteps. On joining the Navy at a time that I wasn't sure about my career choices, I did leave Marietta College after my junior year. And I thought that medicine would be a very good choice. I was very interested in it. I became a Navy corpsman and moved FMF, Marine Corps, more commonly called a medic, of course, to an awful lot of us. As you heard, I did serve in 1968 with the 1st Battalion, 5th Marine Regiment, in the areas around U.S.A, up in the I-Corps, as we called it, in the northernmost parts of South Vietnam, just below the DMZ. After only 110 days, I was hit and spent several months recovering, and I'm a very, very lucky man. I'm here to share with you what I call the ABCs of the war in Vietnam. A, Richard H. Arruda, lost on September 12, 1968, 1 month before me. I was the family paper boy and he a best friend. B, Ronald Packy Bumpus, lost on August 3rd, 1967. His dad was a builder, and simply we were all very good friends. C, James Crowley II, a wonderful friend. In fact, in my very same class, we graduated together, a class of '99. October 16th, 1968. 14 days before I was born. An additional C for Carlos Rose, who I never had the pleasure of meeting or knowing. God rest his soul. The last 3 men that I'm now just going to briefly speak to weren't born here, but they were Wareham boys. Wayne Severino lost Feb 16, 68. Ed Andrade lost September 2nd, 67, and Carl Wakefield Jr. lost August 2nd, 1968. All 7 of these men have memorials around the town of Wareham. Thanks for their service and their lives given. I don't want to forget the fact the loss of 8 women in Vietnam also deserves mention at this time. None from Wareham. They shall and never will be forgotten. In most cases, saving lives, serving their country in foreign soil. In closing, I'm so fortunate to have been part of this event. Over a year of planning, I've developed relationships that I know will last a lifetime. I won't and don't have to mention names because they know who they are. The Friends of the Wareham Veterans Council are absolutely amazing. They worked so hard for us, and I applaud you. Thank you. What a wonderful community, and how fortunate we are to live here. Paul and Kim are the couple that brought the wagon that had 75 sections for the wall and what have you. They've been doing it for 6 or 8 years, and they were just lovely. And I was so pleased to all of you who worked your fingers to the bone. He said, Jimmy, we've been from California to Massachusetts. This is as nice as any location we've ever been to. So congratulations to all of you who did all that. Interestingly enough, if you don't know it, there was a gentleman that started this in 1984. In October, it will be the 34th year of the Moving Walls circulation. It is with a great amount of admiration and pride that I've been able to be with all of you for this time in remembrance. In the words of a past president, peace fails when we forget what it stands for. Veterans and this wall should continue to remind us of what the country stands for and these sacrifices necessary to make it happen. Were it not for them, we would not be in the nation we're all fortunate to be living in today. May God bless our veterans, their families, and this wonderful town. And may God continue to bless our wonderful nation. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker, in addition to being a Vietnam veteran, is also a retired Air Force senior master sergeant. 22 years of military service. He's also retired from the United States Postal Service. A life member of the W.L. Brown Post 2846. And a member of the VFW for 29 years. He is also a member of the Wareham Veterans Council and the Veterans Day Celebration Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Julio Roderick.
Thank you. The moving wall makes all Vietnam veterans reflect on their service in Vietnam and realize how fortunate they are to not have their name on their wall. This is an opportunity to pay homage to the more than 58,000 Vietnam veterans that gave their lives for their country. I think of those with ties to Wareham, especially my high school classmate, Ronald Bumpus, who was killed just 3 years after our graduation. One of the objectives of the Veterans of Foreign Wars is to perpetuate the memory and history of our dead. By displaying this moving wall, we are letting you know that they didn't die in vain, and their service will always be revered. May future generations of Americans be inspired by their service and devotion to duty. In closing, I would like to remember Arthur Robert Lee, who passed away a few months ago. Like myself, he was a member of the VFW and a member of the Veterans Council. He worked tirelessly planning this celebration. It's a shame he can't be here to see it. But he would be greatly missed by the rest of our veterans and our council members. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our guest speaker tonight is Colonel Virginia I. Doonan. She's the commander of the 102nd Intelligence Wing, Otis Air National Guard Base, Massachusetts. She leads more than 1,300 military and civilian personnel to ensure the wing's ability to respond to peaceful contingencies while maintaining preparedness to accomplish its wartime missions of intelligence, cyber engineering, and installation, along with trained and experienced expeditionary combat support and homeland medical and security forces. She's a former crew qualified as a Mission Operations Commander, MOC, for the RQ-1, MQ-1 Predator, and MQ-9 Reaper. Colonel Doonan is also assigned to the member of the Joint Oversight Group for the Joint Base Cape Cod. She oversees strategic management and day-to-day base operating support for the JVCC, working with commands from the Army National Guard, Camp Edwards, U.S. Coast Guard Cape Cod Air Station, Base Cape Cod, and the U.S. Air Force's 6th Special Wing Squadron, in developing a unifying plan and identifying opportunities for development for future plans for the community, renewable energy opportunities, and military efficiencies, among various 10 organizations. Colonel Dune has served in operations in Northern Watch, Noble Eagle, Iraq Freedom, and Enduring Freedom. Prior to her current assignment, she was the Vice Commander of the 102nd Legion. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and privilege to introduce you to Colonel Virginia I.
Thank you for that introduction. Welcome to everyone that has come tonight for this evening's ceremony, and a special thanks to the town of Wareham and Wareham Veterans Council for asking me to speak today. It's truly an honor. It's an honor to be a part of this kind of project, and the 102nd Intelligence Wing was able to have had a small part in putting this together for the community over the last few months. This particular day of the ceremony for the Vietnam Moving Wall, if you look at the brochure, is dedicated to the prisoners of war, missing in action, and their families from the Vietnam War. So my comments are going to be centered around them today. Each year, the third Friday of September is set aside to honor the commitment and sacrifices made by this nation's prisoners of war and those who are still missing in action. This year's event falls on September 15th. The somber black and white flag that is out on the track field this evening next to our nation's flag is a reminder for us as Americans that it's our responsibility to stand behind those who serve our nation. We honor family members and relatives who have made great sacrifices for our country and have themselves been steadfast in the resolve for a full accounting of what happened to their loved ones. In preparation of this evening, I did some research about how, as Americans, assist the families of our POWs and MIAs from our wars. There's an entire federal agency, the Defense POW Accounting Agency, dedicated solely to providing information about our missing personnel. Their vision statement is to be a world-class workforce, fulfilling our nation's obligations by maximizing the number of missing personnel accounted for while ensuring timely, accurate information is provided to their families. And their mission is to provide the fullest possible accounting for our missing personnel to their families and the nation. I think it's significant that in both the agency's vision and mission, they mention both families and our nation. This isn't just as an important responsibility for the families, but it's a responsibility to our nation. Each American still missing or unaccounted for is a part of our nation. Their loyalty and selfless sacrifices under the most extreme circumstances have earned them our eternal dedication. They are still bound by the same oath to the Constitution that our airmen, soldiers, sailors, Marine, and Coast Guardsmen of today have sworn to protect. This honor binds us all, and we share that oath. Some of you in the audience may have lost loved ones to war or hold a place in your heart in hopes of learning about a family member. Your nation is grateful to you as you've endured years of unknowing. Those of you who have worn a POW or MIA bracelet, who offer silent prayers, perform acts of kindness related to the cause, thank you. The moving wall that's so beautiful out there this evening pays tribute to those who fought in Vietnam and lists our POW military members, and you can see that by the insignia. When the wall was originally built, the number was much greater. Thankfully, with the work of our nation, we have reduced the number and work to do so each day. Just as current as July 12, 2017, the number of Vietnam veterans in a missing status is 1,606. And this number is updated as often as needed, and quite often weekly or monthly. The search continues, and when found, they're brought home. The words on our flag, "You are not forgotten," are deliberate. It is a promise from the nation on our resolve in bringing them home. The Vietnam Memorial Wall is unlike any other memorial we have in our nation. Traveling across the country, it's a reminder of the sacrifices our men and women made while serving during an incredibly difficult and confusing historical time, and helps to serve to heal our veterans and our nation. One of the reasons the United States has excelled is that as a nation we learn and we innovate. One reason why we have the finest fighting force the world has ever known is that our military is a learning organization. We learn from our success, we learn from our setbacks, and we strive to do better. The war in Vietnam taught us many lessons, hard won and really hard to accept, but it has made us a better country and a military. Two in particular are key to today's ceremony. We leave no one behind. Our steadfastness to this effort is a promise to our nation, but also is in a large part to the staunch advocacy of our Vietnam veterans and POW families. Having this wall here today reminds us of the continued work we have to do and brings us closer as we continue to find our missing warriors. The wall has 58,272 names on the wall, including 333 additions since 1982, and it gets updated as they find numbers and names of individuals. The second lesson I want to talk about is that we must support our warriors regardless of our feelings about the war. And community support has everything to do with the outcome our troops have when they're overseas. And that was hard learned in Vietnam. Unfortunately, that was a lesson many of our citizens learned the hard way in the Vietnam era, and it caused a lot of pain to those who served in a very difficult time. Vietnam veterans served in a combat during a troubled time for our nation. Those airmen, soldiers, and sailors returned from a war to a country very much divided. Veterans Day and Memorial Day celebrations during the Vietnam War were often featured with argument and protest. Today, thankfully, we recognize the heroic self-sacrifice of all our veterans in all the wars. And as a nation, we now recognize that the circumstances which we fought are not nearly as important as the selfless sacrifice to our nation. Bringing our community together is how we support those who serve and help those who are suffering from their times in service to heal more quickly. What better way to bring us together than events like this? It shows how we've learned and used innovation to make us stronger. The wall honors our 7 million plus living Vietnam-era veterans, their fallen comrades in arms, and the families who served during that time. Many Vietnam veterans are here today. Some bear the wounds of war or the wear of age. Some carry with them memories of friends lost, American fathers, uncles, brothers and sisters who didn't make it home. And others proudly wear Vietnam veteran lapel pins or Gold Star buttons as family members who remember the service and sacrifice of years past. The Vietnam Moving Wall, or Memorial Wall, was designed by a young woman of 21. Her name was Maya Lin, and she was an undergraduate at Yale University and won the competition as for the design. She said when she was designing it, "I deliberately didn't read anything about the Vietnam War because I felt the politics of the war eclipsed what happened to the veterans. The politics were irrelevant to what the memorial was." She knew that the community and how they feel about those who served is what heals our veterans, and she designed it as a tribute to those who were lost and those who came home. The Vietnam Veterans Wall in DC was built entirely by privately funded donations. There were no federal funds used to build it. Just like the wall in DC was built with no federal funds, the money to bring the wall to Wareham was contributed by community and private funds and a small state grant. I'd like to thank the Wareham Veterans Council and the Friends of the Wareham Veterans Council and all those who donated for this event. Your hard work, service, and vision for this event is amazing, and it is a real tribute to those who served in Vietnam and still serve today in the military. Thank you.
Colonel, if I may, I'd like to present this plaque, which reads, in recognition of and appreciation for your participation in the Vietnam Veterans Moving Wall Ceremony, presented to Colonel Virginia Noonan, Commander, 102nd Intelligent Wing, Joint Forces, Base Otis Air Force. We must never forget. Now have Mr. Steve Ruiz going to get a few songs for us. First song he's going to sing is Let There Be Peace on Earth. And then he'll be singing God Bless the U.S.A.
That's better. I'd like to preface the song by saying it makes reference to brothers and, you're my brother and sister. You're my sister. We have to remember that, and it's actually, the song was written by a woman, so I don't think there was anything wrong with it. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as our Father, brothers all are we. Let me walk with my brother in perfect harmony, and let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow, to take each moment and live each moment with peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. If tomorrow all the things were gone that I've worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife, I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. I know I'm free, and I won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me, and I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land, God bless the U.S.A. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, and from New York to L.A. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me. And I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. The man who died, who gave that right to me, and I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the U.S.A.
Wow. Does a great job. At this time, I would like to introduce with a special message Michelle Hamilton, President of the Rolling Thunder, Mass Chapter 2, a nonprofit organization that every member donates their time in the belief of the BOW MIA cause. Ladies and gentlemen, Michelle Hamilton.
So, on behalf of Rolling Thunder Mass Chapter 2, it is my distinct honor to present this POW flag to the Wareham Veterans Council. I'm honored to recognize our missing brothers and sisters, who currently number 82,516, and those military members who were held prisoner on behalf of the United States. This flag is the only flag flown under Old Glory, which indeed symbolizes the importance of its place in America. On behalf of Rolling Thunder, Mass Chapter 2, thank you, and you will never be forgotten.
As you can see, the chair up here, underneath the chair there's a plaque, and Michelle's going to read what it says on that plaque. Can't see it.
So this missing man chair, we are ever mindful that the enduring peace comes from great sacrifice. We must never forget that our freedom, that for our freedom, others endure pain, suffering, and imprisonment. This empty chair memorializes and causes us to remember those who have served our nation during wartime and those who remain missing.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a tribute to our POWs and MIAs. I'd like you to pay attention, direct your attention to the table. It's called the Missing Man Table. The table is set for our prisoners of war that are too often forgotten. The chairs are empty, but saved for their return. Let us remember, with their absence, it is normally set to 6, which represents all branches of the service, which includes civilians. The table is round. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of motives when answering the call of duty. The lone candle in the middle symbolizes the frailty of a prisoner alone, trying to stand up against the oppressors. The black ribbon on the candle reminds us of those who will not come home. And the single red rose displayed in the vase reminds us of the life of each of the missing and the loved ones and friends of those who keep the faith and await an answer. The vase is tied with a red ribbon, as well as a yellow ribbon worn by thousands who await their return. A slice of lemon on the plate reminds us of the bitter fate of those captured and missing. A pinch of salt symbolizes the tears endured by the families of the missing, who continue every day to seek answers. The Bible represents the strength gained through the faith to sustain those lost from our country, found as one nation under God. The faded picture on the table reminds us that they are missed very much. They are remembered and loved by their families. The glass is inverted to symbolize their inability to share a toast today. The chairs are empty. They are missing. So I ask you, when you look upon the empty table, do not remember ghosts from the past. Remember our comrades. Remember those that we depended on in battle, and those who depend on us to bring them home. I would like at this time, in order to honor our veterans, when I call the branch of armed services, please stand and recognize. United States Coast Guard. United States Navy. United States Marines. United States Marine Corps. United States Air Force. United States Army. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome Reverend Virginia Duran from the Wesley Methodist Church to give the benediction. Reverend Duran.
Oh Lord, we thank you for this honored gathering here this evening. This coming together to remember, reminisce, connect, and regard those who have given so much, the soldiers as well as their families. We give thanks for those that spoke here this evening, witnessing to the life of war and the aftermath. We ask that tonight you send us home with your peace. For the unknown can be so overpowering and create a helplessness within. Help us to have the peace of mind, knowing that all of our unknowns are known to you. That you hold those we love within your grasp, even when we cannot. And that your care and love is endless and reaches the farthest corners of eternity, even though it's hard to comprehend. May we continue our journey in life with pride, and may we bear witness to the truth and mighty acts of those who fought and continue to fight so valiantly for freedom, for those they do not know, yet know that peace and freedom is a dignity for all human beings. We pray that those whom we have lost and not had the opportunity to lay to rest are welcomed into your fold when their time has come. Today we remember. We remember who they were, what they fought for, and we give thanks for the freedom and justice in which they sacrificed. We hold on to the cost of freedom. Let us not forget. May the good Lord go forth in your hearts, leading the way, guiding the path, and lightening the darkness that lies before you. Go in peace, knowing that this is so. By his holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Frank Newman, Army Band veteran. Ladies and gentlemen, I have one little message to read for you in reference to what's going to happen right after here. In conjunction with the Moving Wall ceremony, the season 12 finale of the Cranberry Coast Concert celebrates loved ones lost with a special tribute to our honored veterans. Performing a wide variety of music, members from the CCC crowd, accompanied on piano by directors Kurt Whipple and Marilyn Morales, will perform patriotic anthems, selections from Broadway, Bach, Roaring Twenties, and Vegetable. There is no set price for admission for this at all. Any donation will benefit. Kind regards, Kurt. So we say to you, good night, and remember, we will never forget. Thank you for coming.